And we're live, guys.
Yay.
At
Yes.
last.
Hi, Eddie. Hi,
3 minutes late.
It's
So
good for a
sorry.
standard. It's not bad at all.
You can blame me. I had a night, so you can blame me.
We don't blame. We don't blame you.
ah ah.
Just
Guys,
So we'll
Mm-hmm.
just share on our social media platforms like we usually do, and we'll go live very very quickly, so it won't be too long.
and guys, while we're talking, we're waiting until I share everything. I'm
Oui.
gonna be the only club to get Champions League as we stand right now, right? Next year, my club is gonna be the only
Yeah, I
one.
know, man. That's yeah. Man United is a disaster
Poor
this
Man
year.
United.
Disaster.
They are in a dark space. Although I believe our guest supports a club who is also definitely Champions League bound next year. So fear not.
Nah, it's yeah, no, it's well there it's kind of rumors. I don't think it's confirmed yet, but Eric Ten Hag is going to be the next coach, so that's promising. But right now, it's
For
painful to
United.
watch. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good.
it is, man. Yeah, it's been finally
It's
some good news, man.
been a journey. I can't believe
Amen.
Everton.
Welcome, welcome to my world.
Yeah, I know, man.
The word of not having a good team.
Okay,
But
I'm
yeah,
done, guys. So whenever
yeah.
you're done, just go
Yeah.
I
on.
should be done in the next few seconds. Give
Excellent.
me 2 seconds. I'm just gonna share it on Twitter, and then I'm all yours. And we can start. We have a special guest. It's gonna
Yay.
be amazing.
Yay.
So I am ready in 2, 3.
All right.
And then we have YouTube, and we can do this.
Let's go.
Okay,
Let's.
so yeah, I think we can go whenever you guys are ready. We can start this.
I was born ready.
Good countdown, guys.
Hello, my friends. My name is Samuel Savy, and this week on the show, against the odds, Montreal come back home riding a 3-game undefeated streak. The women national team continue their celebration tour and bid farewell to one of their greats. And Gabriel Gervais entertains the idea of bringing the men national team to Montreal. This and a lot more on episode 76 of The Ball is Wrong. And I'm joined as usual by my friends Yves Paul and Adi Raphael, and honored by the presence on our show today by Olympian and Soccer Canada Hall of Famer Amy Walsh. Amy, thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
My pleasure. I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
Cool. And Yves, Hady, how's everyone?
We're fine. Like I was telling you off. I was telling you that Marseille is in a Champions League spot, and I'm very happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I hope it means that we get to listen to less misery from you out of when it comes to Marseille.
She starts the show.
It's
That
already
way.
going,
Perfect.
man.
Dun, dun, dun.
Eve, you good?
I'm alive. I'm
Yeah,
alive.
that's what we want. That's what we want. Amy, with the women national team celebration tour going on, and Stéphanie Labbé bidding farewell to the national team, I think it was a great idea to have you on the show, and that's why we're so happy to have you. It's really cool you accepted our invitation.
Well, like I said, I've seen you guys kicking around Twitter, and I wanted to check you out and see what you're all about. So it's pretty cool to. I said it to you guys before we were live, but it's pretty cool to see faces and try to get to know people that you see on Twitter in the same sort of spaces and talking about the same subject matter.
Exactly. Well, so we'll go right away. We'll start with the CF Montreal game. We'll review the Red Bull New York game, and Montreal went into this game on the back of a 4-3 win away to Cincinnati into an
Sorry,
arena.
guys.
Don't worry about it.
It's okay. It happens to
Welcome,
all of
welcome.
us. Welcome to
I'm
live.
ruining your show right from the get-go.
It's okay.
No
Like,
worries.
peace, I'm out.
I thought it was done.
No worries.
Oh,
We'll
no
give
problem.
you a second chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so we came into Red Bull Arena, an arena that we didn't win often in our MLS career, and in the back of a 4-3 win away to Cincinnati, we went as usual with pretty much the same system, and the lineup was Breza in goal, Johnston, Waterman, Camacho, Miller, Lapalainen in defense, Wanyama, Kone, Mihailovic, and Sunusi Ibrahim in midfield, and Camara up front. Returnees Kyoto and Hamdi were on the bench. So, guys, what were your thoughts on the inclusion of Sunusi right back from his bout with illness, right back into the starting 11? I'll start with you, Amy.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was pleased to see his name, one in the starting 11, but then also to see Hamdi make a return, be available off the bench. It's great for a team that's been so thin up at the attack, and for Wilfred Nancy to not really have a ton of choice there, to have somebody like Sunusi Ibrahim available and then starting. But, I expected to see him maybe around the 60th minute mark if he was available, come on as that super sub role that he did so well last year. But I think he gave pretty good account of himself. I think that the way that the game went, which I'm sure we'll dive into, didn't really give him much opportunity to get involved on the attack. So maybe an unfair kind of condemnation of what he gave the team, because the team really wasn't that lively on the attack. It didn't have very much service. They were sort of under duress from the really aggressive press that the Red Bulls came with.
Yeah, and it was kind of predictable, right? Red Bull are absolutely known for this. They're probably the team that pressed the hardest in the whole league. Eve, Hady, was there anything surprising in the 11 for you guys?
No, I was maybe thinking that Ramel Kyoto would have gotten the start, although I think Kai Kamara's previous performance in Cincinnati certainly merited him getting another start at the outset. So I was a little bit surprised that, I think, especially knowing, Kai's age, he at some point he is going to run out of energy, I'm sure. Maybe not, because he was here, there, and everywhere last night. But yeah, I was a little surprised that Kyoto started on the bench and not in the 11.
Hady.
Yeah, but it was to be expected, right? Kyoto was coming back from COVID protocol and, not really fit. But getting Sunusi, who came back from malaria, is a bit surprising. But when you think about it, when you play against the Red Bulls, maybe Wilfried Nancy wanted a different profile up front, right? He didn't want that technical player like Joaquin Torres or someone really technical. He wanted someone that has pace. And Sunusi Ibrahim does have space. So maybe that's the reason why it was a bit more, the profile that Wilfried Nancy was looking for in that starting 11. As Amy said, it didn't work that well, but it was okay. It was okay. I think it's good start of the season for Sunusi.
Yeah, I think it's important for him to get the minutes in his legs because he had such a long layoff.
Yeah, and a tough layoff with a tough illness. He was sidelined with malaria, which he caught, I think, back in Nigeria when he went back. So that was a tough break for him. But happy to see he's healthy now. And he, for Sunusi, I think, yes, the setup of the game, how it was rolling, it was difficult for him. But the few flashes that he was on the ball didn't look bad at all. I think he started to create a bit. He was lively down that right flank, and he was kind of giving Red Bull's left back some trouble at some point. But guys, I want to hear you on from the start of the game to the 14th minute when Omir Fernandez shot deflected off Camacho. What was up? Amy?
To me, they looked like a team that wasn't ready to play, which I don't know how. I mean, you come into an arena where all the stats show that, you're the team that I think they have like a 91.7% success rate against
Yeah.
CF Montreal. You know that you've been in tough in this place. You know that they're going to come out aggressively, and you show up flat out of the locker room. Like, to me, there's no excuse for that. I don't think you can blame the coach either for his selections. And one of you guys was talking about different profiles, and choosing a guy like Sanusi Ibrahim because you think he might slot in well, given what the other team is throwing out there. I think it comes back to, again, like the chat and the chatter on Twitter is what's going on with Zachary Brogriard. Like, to me, a game like that, where you're expecting a high tempo physical performance or a contest. How does a guy like that, who is that person, like he's going to get up and down on that channel, he's going to be physical, he's going to get into tackles. Like, how do you not utilize that type of player who just gets re-upped on a contract? Like, that to me is a mystery.
Oh, I think like the biggest mystery right now in Montreal is what's going on there.
It's a recurring theme here, and and given that you're playing against the Red Bull, that you have so little space, so little time on the ball. I think Zachary Brogriard, like you said, it's not necessarily in our zone that he can be dangerous, but being that kind of outlet where when Red Bull are implicating their wingbacks into the press, you can open up space behind the back of their defense and isolate maybe a center back who has to move a bit out of position to get him. So, I was asking the same questions, but this is something that we've tried to answer here. People have asked us the questions on Twitter, and we came down to the conclusion that we have no idea why he's not playing. So that's as simple as that.
We can speculate as much as we want, but who knows what's going on? Like, I don't know if I don't think it's a Balou Tabla thing where Nancy is displeased with him as a player, or his effort in training, or the way that he fits into the room. I mean, I have no intel on that, but I don't see it being a situation like that. But to get back to your question and what went wrong at the beginning is, one, I think they were flat. They weren't ready to play, but I think they were really overrun in the midfield, and they never really recovered until about the, half an hour in. Yeah. And even then it was just hanging on because Red Bull had like the run of play. They could basically control the middle of the park at will with very little resistance from Kone and Wanyama.
Yeah, and I feel kind of like in the past two matches, I feel almost like the matches just happened around Ismail Kone. He's not really been very involved in it. He's been there, but he's almost like been more of a spectator than involved. And I'm really curious what's up with that.
Well, Hady might have.
He was involved in everything, and then the last two matches, I felt like he really became invisible.
But that's what you get when you play young kids, right? It's normal that he's not going to be as consistent as a veteran, right? But he did grew into the game. He was a lot better in the second half also. So let's not forget about that. But the whole team had a problem at the beginning of the game. And it's weird because we always talk about the midfield. We always talk about the midfield being overrun. Like, we knew this from the Red Bulls. Like, the Red Bulls have been overrunning the midfield since Jesse March. Like, it's been like 7 or 8 years now. So we should know that. So I don't know if maybe the players weren't really expecting that, and maybe it wasn't really worked in training, which would be very surprising. But I don't understand how we're not prepared to have that sort of battle in the midfield against the Red Bulls, knowing the way they play. I just can't understand it, to be honest.
Could it be a number problem, because the way we play, there's a lot, you have your back three, you have the wing backs that are playing really isolated on the sides. So if you want to keep a player like Mihailovic a bit higher up the field, when you do win the ball back, you left with maybe just Kone and Wanyama trying to cover that midfield area. Could that be one area to see? Because in the recent games I've seen the same thing, that they've been overrun in midfield, but you can't say that Wanyama isn't winning his battles. He's not covering the ground. So what's the solution to this? This is pretty much my question.
Mathieu Choignard, as simple as that. When he plays a wing-back role, he cuts a lot into the midfield, and he plays a very big part in the midfield. A lot of people see him on the side, but he's so important in transition in the midfield, but also offensively in the midfield too. He cuts a lot into the middle, and I think he's a player that was really missing against the Red Bulls. Maybe also Zachary Boguillard, maybe just try to play a bit more down the sides. I'm not really sure. But I think that we were missing something at the beginning of the game.
And guys, did you have the feeling, because in the post-game presser, Wilfried Nancy said that he had the feeling that around the 30th, 35th minute, Montreal really took the step up and started dominating the game. Did you have the feeling that we were in control before halftime at some point?
Montreal definitely grew. Yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead.
No, you go.
No. Okay. No, Montreal definitely they did wake up for sure after conceding. We had some really good opportunities. Mihailovic hit the post in the second part of the first half, and as well they had like a really good series of corners where Sanusi actually headed pretty close to on target, which I thought was good for him. So I thought, I thought Montreal did grow a lot, and I think they were basically on the front foot going into the halftime break.
Amy.
Yeah, I say that's fair. I would agree with that, but I think it's a bit generous to say that they were dominating the play at that point. I think they just sort of grew into the game, where they showed up finally and said, okay, we conceded, but we can still be in this thing. But yeah, I mean, just to cycle back to one of you were saying about the tactics and how do they adapt in the game, and Wilfried Nancy's been criticized for being too tactically rigid, and I don't know if that's true. We could probably chat for 2 hours about that. But I think the personnel that he has on the field, like you have how do you think you were saying, like a Zachary Boguillard could sort of pin Red Bull up the field a little bit, giving them a little bit more flexibility to play out at the back. But I think Lassie already does that. But to me, not offering a whole lot defensively. So I think, in an occasion like that, like, why don't you cycle back to a more traditional flat back four, and then maybe tuck Johnston in, or maybe, and you bring Mihailovic more as a 10. I like him more centrally anyway. Like it took, I wrote down in my notes, it took until the 18th minute till I think Mihailovic had a touch in the ball yesterday.
It felt long.
I mean, this is a team, Alistair Johnston talking about Mihailovic as dark horse for MVP and MLS, and I'm all for that. You see the flashes of brilliance, but if he's not on the ball until almost 20 minutes into a game, then this team doesn't really have a hope to really drive an attack if their best guy, like, you're not playing through him.
Yeah. And that's so we're happy to have you, Amy. I'll ask you the question, because pretty much all of our guests have been question on that, and we've given our opinion so much on this. So you how do you feel that Montreal are setting up the same way, game in, game out, with that same system, pretty much the same players on the field? Would you see a plus value to try something else, like you were talking?
Yeah, because I think that they have the personnel. You look at that bench, and you have a Gabriele Corbo, and you've got Waterman, you've got Camacho, you've got Johnston, you've got Miller, you've got a number of players back there who can do the job. And then you could also argue that, staying in that 3-5-2 system, when you switch personnel in and out, I mean, it's always going to be on a board. It's going to be a 3-5-2, but the players will adapt and evolve, and it'll be more fluid once they're playing, right? And also in how they respond to what the other team is throwing out there. But I think it's pretty much, copie conforme of the same players. And yes, the roster has been decimated. There's been so many injuries, but you're facing teams with different strengths. Going in, Hady, you were saying, what you're going to get when you go into Red Bull Arena. So why are you not prepared for the dominance in the midfield, for the high press? So why is there not more rotation in that starting 11? And again, it might cycle back to, why we're not seeing certain guys, I mean, maybe a Hady as well coming back. And I don't think we've really seen the best of him last year. I think what they hope that he's going to be is sort of this classic number 8 box to box midfielder, but didn't really see it last year. So I think, these guys getting back healthy, and obviously there's no issues with scoring goals, which is a fantastic surprise. I don't think anybody would have thought that with all the injuries, the issues would be at the back, but we didn't talk about it for the poor start. But I think the way that Sebastian Breza starts that game, that poor throw, the poor clearance, he's not inspiring confidence for a back line that needs to be more cohesive and more confident and more organized. If you look back and, you know, you're a little bit worried about what's behind you. You know, I think Kamara had more saves than Breza did. Not great.
We are team. I am team Pantemis. So just to let you know, Amy. So I agree with you 100%. I just want to say one last thing about that the tactical shape that you talked about, a 3-5-2. But I think the reason why we're not seeing Zachary Boguillard is to have that sort of possibilities of changing tactics in game and just playing with a back four, with Lassie playing more as a winger and Johnston playing as a right back, Miller playing as a left back. So I think that's the reason why we're not seeing Zachary Boguillard, because from time to time, I don't know if you guys realized during the game, we see a lot of Johnston staying at the back and Lassie playing really, really high.
Yeah.
So I think that's the reason why we're not seeing the ZBG in the lineup. I might be wrong, but that's what I feel.
Well, I have a question for surrounding that, and I had it later in my notes, but I'll hit you with it, guys. Could it be that Joel Waterman is keeping Zachary Boguillard out of the lineup? Because Joel Waterman has had a very, very solid start of the season, and de facto, he pushes Johnston at right wing back, even though you see it's not his preferred position, even though he crosses the ball so much better than Boguillard can. Maybe it's Joel Waterman that's keeping Boguillard out. Could it be?
Very exciting beginning of the season for Joel Waterman. This guy has been growing since he joined from the CPL. It's not normal how much he evolved and how much he grew into an MLS player. Right now, he is a very good MLS defender, in my opinion. Even, yes, we know that he's not very fast, but even if he's a bit slow, he knows how to compensate now.
Exactly.
He knows how to deal with that. And that's something that's not very, very easy to do, right? So, yeah, Joel Waterman, I was talking to someone on Twitter that was telling me, I don't know why Nancy puts Waterman in the back three. And I'm like, man, he's one of the best defenders we've had since the beginning of the season, if not the best defender, because Miller has been subpar. Camacho has had some very good games, and others where he wasn't very good. So yeah, you're right, Sam. I think it's the reason why we're seeing Johnston as a right wing back.
Yeah,
cool.
Guys, so now we're at halftime, okay? So what were your thoughts? I mean, no, I'll ask it differently. How optimistic were you guys going into the second half? That's the question.
Stats don't lie.
Eve thought that we were going to lose 6-0, of course.
Always.
Wow. It was looking that way, man.
Now, come on, at Red Bull Arena, that's like a loss is a reasonable prediction at Red Bull Arena when you're Montreal on the road, for sure. And yeah, I wasn't super optimistic personally.
Yeah, I predicted a 2-0 loss on Pop's board on Twitter, so I was pretty sure we were going to lose that game just before the game. And after watching the first half, I was like, maybe 2-0 is a bit optimistic.
I thought Nancy was going to take Coney out at halftime, and then when I saw him still in there, I was like, I don't know about this. The way that the game's going, it was looking like it was going to be 2 or 3-0 because there was very little being produced on the attack. But for once, for a team that's really struggled mentally with lapses, either in stoppage time, last year all the points they gave away late in games, or dominating the other team and then going into the locker room and then coming out really flat. For once, it maybe served this team well that they were able to regroup and say, okay, we gave a better account of ourselves for the last maybe 10 minutes of the first half. So let's keep building on that. And then we did actually see a team that continued to improve as the game unfolded.
Yeah.
I love the comment of Chan. Nancy probably had a Sir Alex halftime pep talk and yelled on everyone, right?
No.
Well, no one
You
came
threw a
back with
couple boots,
stitches from a
maybe.
boot in the face, so that's good.
You said the same thing, guys. I love it.
Yeah, so in the 61st minute, we got the first sub, Kyoto in for Sunusi, and I had the feeling that moment, it was kind of Red Bull's turn to be a bit flat, and I don't think we were outplaying them necessarily, but they were certainly not as good as when they started the game. And it was a pretty basic cross that they weren't able to defend properly, and Camacho was well placed and put it in 1-1.
Mhm.
And I had the feeling that we were just showing a better side of ourselves, that these kind of movements of how could I say, of just of how the players would interact and move with the ball was something that was a long time coming. We know they're able, but we don't see it a lot. Was there any thoughts on the goal, guys? Or
Rudy Camacho, what were you doing up there?
oh,
Well, it was after the corner, right? So was he still?
That's true. Yeah, he was. Yeah, okay,
and
that's true. It was lingering. I guess. Yeah.
Gathers it and goes back to the long diagonal to the right, and then I thought Alistair Johnston, again, like talking about improving over the course of the match, like he was swinging in some really quality crosses, and Camacho does everything with that. I mean, it's a very determined. He's gets on that ball and he knows exactly where he's putting it. So I love that. Great confidence builder for the defender, who has been fairly uneven. You don't really know which Camacho you're going to get during the game. And to pull back to the Waterman comment from before, like, is he getting in maybe at the expense of a Zachary Brault-Guillard? I think one of the reasons he is because he's had a really solid start, but I think there's a good understanding between he and Camacho. Yes, there's been some gaffes and some poor giveaways from Waterman himself. But I think that there's been much better understanding in terms of the seams and defending and absorbing the runs from the other team's attackers than we're seeing between Miller and Camacho. And Miller his form hasn't been great. He's not really showing the form that he's shown with the national team, but I think that's a plus in the Joel Waterman column as well, is that he seems to have developed a good cohesion and understanding with Camacho, who gets his head on that, which is great. So yeah, to pull it back to the goal and the plus. So I always love to see defenders score, because I was a defensive midfielder, so I'm always rah for the guys or the girls who get one that maybe you don't expect.
Yeah, definitely. And just continued our good run, and Carlos Coronel gifted us a beautiful goal at the end with
my God.
With 3 points, Red Bull Arena. Is there anything to say on that? It's
well, for once it's not us, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and the word that came to mind, I tweeted it in caps, was cafouillage. There's no better word for it. If Pierre Wood was calling the game, he would have said the same thing.
Oh yeah.
But like so nice to see a different uniform experience that, and not a CF Montreal jersey.
I know.
Coronel did the Breza.
Oh,
that's not nice.
Rough,
that's not nice, but yeah.
Somewhere he's crying a single tear.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you bring me to a question, Hady. I had this in my notes right here. I wanted to hear you guys on Sebastian Breza's performance. I know he's kind of the one that everyone's picking on these days on social media, and so I don't like too much, to go in these, singling out a player. But how much is his performances affected, the confidence of our defenders? Because we have not been defending too well this year. It's something that has to be said. But how much of his presence, his stature since the start of the year has contributed to that lack of confidence?
Eve starts.
Okay. It's been, honestly, last year when I watched Sebastian Breza play after he took over, I thought that he always looked really in command of his box. His distribution is what it is. I've given up on hope for distribution in Montreal goalkeepers, I think. But I thought that he looked like he had really good command in his box. He was a lot more active coming out to claim crosses versus Pantemis. And I felt like he was a bit more communicative, or maybe his voice is just louder. I don't know. Yeah. But that's kind of what I thought gave him that push. However, watching his performance yesterday, I mean, there was a lot of really bad flapping movements, at aerial balls. And he seemed to be in no man's land on several occasions. I mean, Kai Kamara had to come to the rescue twice in 10 seconds on the goal line. So I'm really not sure, but it's not the same attitude like that I felt he exuded last year.
Yeah, if I could jump in there, like to your point with the flapping and the flailing, I'm sure goalkeeper coaches sort of province-wide or whoever's got their eyes on that game are sort of, grimacing and I again, it just doesn't look, it looks unconventional. It doesn't look confident. And the same thing with his demeanor and just the way that he's out there. Like I felt like at the end of last season and scoring that penalty in the Canadian Championships and just his aura.
Yeah.
It was just almost like he was, standing there with like the superhero
pose,
with the cape and blowing in, like it's broad chested and just, he just had a posture and body language about him that was like, nothing is getting by me. And you could feel that sort of spill into the rest of the team. And then yesterday with the long throw in coming into Nialis, who was the player on the long throw? Not important, but the Red Bull player who, would be throwing the ball in like 30 yards. He could have come out to punch, could have come out to claim, and it just put CF Montreal in trouble almost every single time. So, you're putting a ball out to touch, you think it's giving yourself or your team time to sort of regroup, but really it was just putting them sort of more under the gun and under pressure, and they could never really seem to get out of it, especially in those first 30 minutes of that first half.
Yeah, and to come back to the long throws, I think it screams a bit of lack of confidence because, anyways, you can't score on a direct throw. And so, his starting position was always 2 feet on the line. And I was just asking myself,
Edwards.
Yes, Edwards. I was just asking myself, why isn't he just in the mix, closer to his center backs? And, if the throw goes a bit shorter, you back off, or you're already there. So it's little details, but I think for someone who's looking, like you say, goalkeeper coaches or even his defenders looking for him for help, it screams that there's a little lack of confidence going on right now, like you say. Hady.
Oh man, I said
I know.
I really talked about Breza a lot in the past few weeks. It's just technically he's not up to the standards. It's as simple as that. Like across that, he should be able to catch. He just punches it. He doesn't make the right decisions. When we're on the ball, he fortunately he's just in the middle of the pitch, which is like unbelievable. I'm pretty sure he's going to be lobbed at one point. And he was lobbed during Orlando's game last year. So it's not the goalkeeper that I would have chosen, and I think I made that clear a few times here on the ball is round. But his confidence, usually his cockiness a bit, the fact that he has that charisma and he's able to be a good communicator and everything. This is the reason why he's number one right now, right? This is the only reason why he's number one, because he has that sort of charisma and that sort of confidence, and he communicates well. Or else, if you look at from a goalkeeper's point of view, like purely skills, he's not supposed to be the number one. That's my opinion.
It's a mystery, though, that Pantemis in either the Champions League or MLS up to this point hasn't seen the pitch at all, though, isn't it? It's bizarre to me.
Yeah. That's also like our
contract too.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
It's the last year of his contract too. So maybe Montreal has taken already a decision regarding his future, and that's the reason why he's not getting any game time, possibly. I'm not sure.
Maybe because he gets called in the January window to the national team and takes a pass.
Yeah.
Because he feels like he has to stay in preseason and show the coaches, the goalkeeper coaches, the Wilfred Nancy and the assistants, the whole staff, kind of what he's made of, and try to sort of win some points or raise his status, and it doesn't seem to work. So I feel badly for the guy.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
And it's such a sacrifice knowing that the World Cup is coming, and you turn down an invitation for the national team for a qualifying window. I think it was a really brave decision by Pantemis, and it hasn't paid off at all. He kind
No,
of
it seems to have backfired on him.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. So I don't know. It's a bit of a shame. What is gonna be really interesting to see if he gets Canadian Championship games. I do hope he does, because if he doesn't, it's gonna be some head scratching all over the place in Montreal, man. Guys, last player I want to hear you just quickly sound off on is Kai Kamara. He came in very late in the offseason. We needed someone to play up front because of the injury to Mason Toy and Kyoto being called up with Honduras. Sometimes discipline he's suspended. You needed someone to back him up front. How good has Kai Kamara been recently?
We wanted him for years in Montreal. How many years were Montrealers begging for Kai Kamara? 6 or 7 years, really. And the first few matches were a little bit awkward for sure, and took some time to kind of find his feet and develop the chemistry. But it looks to me like a really good low risk, high reward move so far. I'm so pro Kamara. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
Well, how can you not be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
You look at the guy and how he presents himself and how he already seems beloved by his teammates, and certainly on social media and everything he puts out there. It's really hard to not like the guy. But then also he's kind of grown into the season as well. And you heard Victor Wanyama this week talk about how he wasn't really sure about how to play with them, how to link up. And now he feels like he has a better understanding of his movements. And he definitely is a guy that brings a different edge, or maybe that's the wrong word, but a different element that we don't have in the attack. But I don't think we've really utilized him yet to his full potential. You can see how dangerous he is on his head, on headers.
Yeah.
But the service for him, for whatever reason, when he's in those positions has been lacking. The game against the Union comes to mind, where it was just cross after cross after cross, and just couldn't seem to convert. But yeah, I'm a big fan already, and it was great to see him get on the board in that win against was it Atlanta when they won 4-3?
Cincy.
Yeah, Cincy, exactly.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, that like such. I was so pumped for him to finally get on the board.
Yeah, and he does so much on the pitch. He's not only a simple goal scorer, a poacher that just puts a goal and that's it. He plays with his teammates. He opens up space. He does a lot of work. And then he added something else last game where he defended so well. We talked about the block shots, but also on defensive corners. He's a big aerial presence, which we need sometimes right now. So, he's so important now for the team. Let's hope that he stays healthy and he develops that kind of partnership that we want to see with Romel Kyoto, who's like our number one striker. I hope we see that a better partnership that we've seen right now, which is already pretty good. I hope that their game grows and they develop something special between them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and last player who was center forward that would defend as much these set pieces with Didier Drogba. So, something that needed for a long time, but he's such an important player since he's been here in Montreal. Guys, we'll move on quickly. Stade Saputo opener on Saturday, 3 p.m. I have real simple question to preview it. What does Montreal need to do to continue their victorious run, and what should they not do? I'll start with Hady, please.
Oh, wow. Very, very interesting. They should feed off the crowd. They have to really feed off the crowd and to know that that the supporters are here to lift them and to push them to new heights, right? So that's what they think they should do. And what they shouldn't do is defensive errors, right? It's so weird when you look at the table in the Eastern Conference. Montreal has the best offense in the Eastern Conference and the worst defense.
Yeah.
It's just not normal, right?
And it's so not what we expected with like Rudy Camacho re-signing, Alistair Johnston, and everything. I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have one of the best defenses in Montreal. Oh my goodness, and oh my.
Yeah, and what's really nice about it is that a lot of players have scored, and I think that shows some sort of unity within the squad, which is very important. So yeah, they just have to avoid those defensive errors, and I think we can have a good game on Saturday.
Amy.
Yeah, if I can jump in there, I like what you're saying about the scoring by committee, because that just sort of speaks to the depth of this team. And the word that I was looking for when I was talking about Kamara was dimension. Gives the team a different dimension. Yes. So yeah, I think what they need to do is to string together. Now we've seen that they're able to put the ball in the back of the net. They're able to get the road wins. They're going to be back at Stade Saputo. It's not the home opener, but they're going to be back sort of in the stadium on that grass in front of hopefully a ton of fans. But now is to put together a real comprehensive, complete 90 minutes where, yes, there's going to be ebbs and flows to the game. But last game, they were able to eliminate those sort of gifts to the other team. Where you may as well pick up the ball at that point and just punt it in the back of your own net if you're going to give those types of goals up, right? So last game, you hear Wilfred Nancy and talking about the team's resilience. So they're able to sort of continue growing throughout this season and then sort of tick off these boxes. So they're able to get the away wins. They're putting in enough goals, but now it's solidifying the defense. And if they can put all of those pieces together, then you have a team that could potentially take a run at this season and be a real playoff contender, or at least get into the playoffs this year. So I'm excited to see how they evolve. Can they evolve? And then obviously, yes, avoid those big defensive gaffes, but they don't do it last game. And then you see if we can keep building on that and keep scoring the way that they are, and by committee, as you said, Hady.
Eve.
It is our home opener, though. I don't agree that the Big O is a home opener.
Oh, okay, you're saying it's yours.
Yeah, your home opener.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is mine.
Oh, Hady. I think for Montreal, definitely Amy kind of stole me what I was gonna say. Complete 90 minutes is crucial. You have to show up ready to play when the ref blows the whistle for kickoff, and you have to stay tuned in until the end of 90 plus injury time, which has been such a struggle for Montreal so far this season, it seems. But I guess to give a slightly different answer, if I'm Montreal, I don't let like a player, for example, like a Lucas Cavallini, maybe trick any of our more temperamental players into some mind games, because he is a bit of a pest out there for sure. If he's getting the start with Vancouver, so don't be silly. Don't do any. Don't be rash. Don't get lured into any traps, because we do have our fair share of passionate players.
Yeah. I'd go with. I think something that came out of the presser after the Red Bull game was the process. Believing the process, believing the system, and that's something that the players and even Wilfred Nancy talked about. And for us, our podcasters, media, whatever, fans, we can talk about tactics and system as much as we want, but the most important people in there is that in the room, if they are going to play a certain way, everyone has to buy into it. And it seems like everyone is really into it, for the better and for the worse. We've seen some really good stuff coming out of Nazis football, and some very poor stuff too. So just believing in it and continuing. And I think, going back to Stade Saputo on your grass, it can just be good, because, you don't have to play on that turf in let's say New England, or that turf at the Big O, or at the baseball field in New York City, So now you're playing at home. You're playing where you know how to play, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And I think maybe what could help, it's not a dig to the player, but I kind of feel that we would need just something fresher in midfield and maybe sit Kone, because I think now he's getting a bit in too deep and he just has to take a step back and just sit down and look at the players. Look at Wanyama a bit play. Look at hopefully Hamdi's gonna play in his position and just continue learning, because at 19-year-old, people have talked so much about he's the next Alphonso Davies and this and that, but learning is such a long process, and I think that maybe getting him off the field is going to help him a lot instead of sticking to him maybe 90 minutes in these tougher games.
I like what you just said, Sam, because I think that Kone should have a rest, but I think you have to have a more defensive midfielder next to Wanyama. Maybe Piet if he's back. I know he's back in training right now, or maybe someone a bit more defensive, because with the Caps you have Ryan Gold.
I think Wanyama's suspended next week.
No, next yellow card.
I think if he gets one, one.
Oh, okay, sorry, it's the one. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I really thought it was his fifth.
No.
He's been good for almost a yellow card a game.
Not yet, Pessimistic Eve. Not yet.
Okay, my bad.
No, but Wanyama, I think next to with the Piet next to him, I just want to make sure that we can, shut Ryan Gold up, because the guy is really talented and he plays in the middle of the pitch. So I don't know. I would like a more defensive profile next to Wanyama.
No, Sam, if I could jump in on what you're saying there too about Kone, as I was thinking about, the last two performances being a little bit lackluster from him, and it could be like, that emotional swing, from being involved in the qualifications for Qatar with the national team, and then coming back and sort of reintegrating into the club and what Nancy's asking of him, and then just, coming not a low of being back with your club, but like after the high that was being with the national team, getting your first cap and being a part of that celebration.
Yeah.
And then to add on to the previous question about what do they need at Stade Saputo is they need swagger.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Breza, like what he's lacked, but I think the team, they've been giving those balls away and making those egregious errors. Then you sort of fall into that trap where you're playing overly simplified soccer, and there's nothing wrong with simple soccer.
Oh no.
But if you're playing to not make a mistake, then you're obviously not getting the creative juices flowing and the interplay between guys and just sort of letting loose. You sort of lose that a little bit because you're like, okay, we have to cut out these mistakes, but then you lose a little bit of that improvisation, that teams that just have that swagger and that look about them, that this team I don't think we've really seen yet. So it's putting together like a really complete 90 minutes, but then also building on everything that they've sort of learned and accomplished so far, more wins now in that column. And then can we get a little bit of a confidence and a real swagger to this team, I think would be great.
Yeah, most definitely. Guys, anything to add on the Vancouver game coming up?
No, we need to win.
Yeah,
Yep.
Definitely. So there was some news coming out this week that Zachary Bruguière and Jojea Quizera signed new deals. We'll start with ZBG signed an extension to his present deal that was expiring at the end of the year. His new contract is at 1+2, so one contract year plus 2 option years, locking him in Montreal at minimum until the end of 2023 and at maximum end of 2025. Quick retrospective on ZBG's Montreal career so far: 83 games, he scored 3 goals, provided 5 assists, and he's been capped 6 times by the senior national team, scored once. He's 23 years old. Now, the narrative around ZBG's contract extension is now he must play. I think it's easy to say, but there's a lot of layers to this story. We've talked about it a lot. What do both parties, the coaching staff and ZBG, need to do for everyone to be happy?
Oh, wow. Eve, start.
You might not have the answer. It's all good.
Yeah. Honest to goodness, I don't know. It doesn't, like, since he's making the bench every game and he is getting some minutes, Amy, like I know you mentioned, don't have intel necessarily, but I would agree that it doesn't seem like it's a training or like a mentality issue. I don't know. I might espouse the Joel Waterman theory because I truly can't come up with a logical reason why he can't get more of a look in.
I think he needs to be more decisive. You look at the stats that you just gave, Sam. 83 games, 3 goals, 5 assists. He's playing as a right wing back in a system where that allows a lot of freedom to the wing backs.
Yes.
He needs to have those stats. He needs to give assists. He needs to participate a lot more. And that's the main problem with Zachary Boguillard, is that when he has the final ball to play, either a pass or a cross or a shot, it's always very average. It's never the right decision. It's not well done. I think that's where Zachary Boguillard needs to improve. And the coaching staff, they just need to give him a chance at one point. That's, maybe just one start, just to see if he's improving, if he understood what they're asking from him. So that's, I think, what needs to happen with Zachary Boguillard. But yeah, of course, he needs to play. He needs to play at least, he doesn't really need to be a first-team regular if he doesn't produce, but at least give him a chance.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because I think in the same stats that you were reading, Sam, like last year, he featured in 30 games, 23 as a starter. And then now I think cumulatively in both tracks in the Champions League and MLS, I think he's only featured in about 94 minutes or something like that.
I
So
saw
like
that stat. Yeah, exactly.
it's a big contrast. So maybe this is a guy that is having a little bit of difficulty coming to terms with if this is his new role, if his new role is one of a substitute, but recently unused, because we're not even seeing him get on the field at all. But maybe there's some hesitancy and there's been a dip in form because mentally he's not really there, or he's checked out because he feels like he's been dealt a blow or an unfair hand. So I mean, I don't know, we can sit here and speculate all day, but like you look at different players and their profiles and what they can bring to a game, and a guy like him, and we've talked about his attributes and how physical he is and his pace and his 1v1 capabilities, and maybe he lets you down a little bit with that final ball, but how can you not use a guy like that as a substitute? For me, I mean, I think that he maybe speaks more to me with his attributes as a guy who is like one of these super subs versus maybe a penciled in starter. So I don't know, it's a mystery, but I think he does need to see the field so that he can maybe figure out what's going on, because it doesn't look like he's plagued by anything. He hasn't really had any nagging injuries. He does get the call up when they were in Champions League, and he gets brought into the national team as well. So you think that would be a boost to confidence and maybe to form, but it hasn't been. So who knows?
Who knows exactly? Yeah. For Jose Quizera, he signed a 1+3 contract, so one full year plus 3 option years. He was due to be signed after training camp, but issues with immigration delayed the signing. He was our 2022 first round pick, and we all don't know much about Quizera. I think it's been since the draft. It's been said, But could we imagine him getting any minutes in the near future? How will he be brought in progressively towards maybe, let's say, a Canadian Championship game or 5 or 10 minutes at the end of an MLS game? I'll start with you, Amy. In these professional setups, how do these players that come a bit of outside of the group are integrated into becoming playing minutes?
Well, I think a guy like this, where you mentioned that the delay to his signing was immigration issues, but he featured in, I think, all 4 preseason games.
Yeah.
Had, by all accounts, a very strong preseason. So I think you bring him into the fold almost immediately.
Okay.
I think he's a midfielder. I think he can add into that group where we've talked about how they've maybe been lacking. I think you're seeing chemistry building between Wanyama and Kone, and I think. Hady, you were talking about, Piet coming back. And I think, sort of that double pivot, whether that's how you start out, but that's really where you end up, because the characteristics and the players that you have in Piet and Wanyama, they're very similar. And to me, sometimes it makes them a little bit stagnant in the midfield. So I like the idea of like a Wanyama and a Kone, because they have that balance in the attack and defensively. So I'm not saying that Quizera will come in and start and compete with Kone for that slightly more attacking role if that's where he fits in. But in the professional environment, I think a guy like this can get involved very quickly because he's already established himself, as it were, by having a strong preseason.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's rumors that he can play that left wing back role.
I think that's up for grabs.
Yeah, that could be very interesting if Lassie keeps on playing that way. I think he can maybe start by being a super sub or a substitute, and if he does better than Lassie, maybe just steal his spot completely, and that could be interesting, very interesting if he does play that position.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize he was more of a wing back. That's interesting.
Well, he's they presented him with a lot of different positions, winger. Yeah. Even some people said he could play like an out and out 10. Some people say he could play as a wing back. So it's reports have been a bit all over the place, but he's definitely someone who has an offensive touch to his game. So given that's kind of how Wilfried Nancy sees that position, it's going to be interesting. How much can he defend if he is going to be played in that position? Because that's always the problem with these players.
Well, I would guess more than Lapalainen.
Yeah, well, no doubt.
That's not too hard.
Yeah, exactly. It's not very hard,
right?
Guys, you ready to move on to the women's national team?
Yes, ready.
Yes. So we'll review
here pretty soon.
Sorry.
Okay.
I got to split pretty soon. Yeah, I've got some 7-year-olds who are peeking into the room here, wondering what's going on.
All right. So we'll move on quickly to it. Guys, the lineup was Labbé, Lawrence, Buchanan, Gilles, Rivière, Desiree Scott, Quinn, Deanne Rose, Fleming, Becky, and Sinclair. So I'm just gonna bring it a bit differently than when we do with Montreal. I want to start just the discussion by asking, just how good was Canada on the night? I'll start with you, Amy, of course.
I was really impressed. I was fortunate to be involved in the broadcast of the Arnold Clark Cup.
Yeah,
where they played Spain and Germany and England and actually did very well against 3 top 10 teams. So that they're sort of shifting gears and preparing for the World Cup qualifying in July, which is going to give you sort of that tier 2 look. And Nigeria kind of gives them, a similar challenge to the teams that they're probably going to face. But I thought that Canada came out flying. And then I think they're a bit hard done by to go into halftime after 45 and it's 0-0, where they had a lot of great looks. Sinclair had 2 sitters, basically, where normally on any given night, like you would bet a lot of money that 2 of those Becky crosses end up, on her head on the first one and then just beyond her reach with her right foot on the second. I mean, those are normally in the back of the net. Desi Scott still looking for her first international goal. I know.
She should have scored.
I know. I thought the first one was in, and I sent my iPad flying across the room that left up. But yeah, that would have been awesome. But the story, I mean, we talked about the midfield with CF Montreal, but the story for me was Quinn.
I am obsessed with Quinn.
They are unbelievable. Every time I see them, there's been a leap, confidence, movement on the ball, off the ball, long diagonal crosses, changing the pitch and link up play. And I actually think that they looked really good, kind of, really short passes and overlaps and underlaps. And a couple of times, Becky, as good as she was on the night with her service, her timing to me looked a little bit off, especially with Sinclair, which is interesting because she's moving to the Thorns from Manchester City. So it'll be cool to see that relationship develop. But Quinn and then Becky and Sinclair and kind of the way that they bossed that midfield was really great and to me spoke volumes about this team and how they can compete against not just a top 10 team like we saw at the Arnold Clark Cup, but a team like Nigeria that with all the injuries, it was the sort of CONCACAF shithousery that you see that you have to steel yourself and get mentally prepared to do. And then they finally convert and they get a couple of goals, a banger from Fleming. And then a really decisive header by Gilles, and then they should have probably won the game 4 or 5-0, but they also dealt well with Nigeria in the counterattack. So I think, long-winded answer, I'm really sorry, but I think on Monday in Victoria, I
Mhm.
think we maybe see Zadorsky and a 3 center back, because I mean Gilles
Oh.
and Buchanan have been outstanding as a
Yeah.
pairing, and it's been hard for Zadorsky to get in that. But as a left-footed center back, it looks really good to set up with the Zadorsky, Buchanan, and Gilles, and it
Mhm.
sort of prepares them for maybe different looks tactically moving into CONCACAF qualifying.
Oh, that's
Love that.
very interesting. With I hope Zadorsky in the middle of the back three. I hope, and Buchanan and Gilles being the two, right back, right center
Yeah,
back and left
I like
center
that
back.
too.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question if you don't mind, please, Sam, because I want to make sure that to get Amy's answer.
Yeah, no, of course.
Have you ever seen a player in a women's game be so dominant in the air as Vanessa Gilles?
Oh,
I've never seen that. Never. Like she
Yeah, I
wins
mean,
every aerial challenge.
yeah, I mean, I'd like to say I was fairly dominant myself in my career. Heading was
You were.
my bread and butter. I was pretty good, not scoring or after goals, but defensively and in the
Yeah.
midfield. But no, seriously, like all kidding aside, she's excellent. And just
Yeah.
I mean, her nickname's the Magnet, and for good reason. She just seemed, whether it's on clearances in her own 18 or getting on the end of things. And you've seen her now. She scored her first goal at the Arnold Clark Cup, actually, and she could have had another off her head. So yeah, she's gonna, I think Quinn is unfortunately on the wrong end of that as Gilles kind of moves them out of the way and then nods the ball in. But you see Heidema on that sort of floating cross that I don't love from Becky.
No.
I prefer more of a driven ball from those set pieces from the corners, but it looked like to me a practice thing or a set play.
Definitely.
I think it must have been.
Going to Hydema on that back post and then heading it back in for Gilles to follow up. So yeah, she's really, really, really impressed because she's came onto the scene really late, just soccer sort of grassroots and putting on her boots, and then with the national team and you look at how she performed in Tokyo and so clutch, and then they were just so stingy defensively, and she was a big part of that, and then also contributing with the penalties. Yes, and headers with Bordeaux. Yeah, so I've seen some highlights of that as well. So, and then now playing in the NWSL for Angel City, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think her stock just continues to rise. It's excellent.
Big time.
Hady.
Yeah. No. So good.
She said everything. She said everything.
Yeah.
I can't say anything more, right? So yeah, Vanessa, I don't know. She's really, really good. I think she changed a lot of things in that back line. I loved already Buchanan, Zadorsky, but with Gilles, you get that extra layer of safety in the air, which Buchanan is very good in the air also, but Gilles is like, she's a beast.
Gilles is
she's
kind
not
of
like that tall.
No.
Like, but my God, she can jump.
Oh, yeah.
But she has an old school flavor to her. She loves a sliding tackle, a header, and a long ball. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, but it's her timing too. Her timing is impeccable.
Yeah.
The timing of her runs, but also the jumps and the way that she contends with the physicality in the air. Like nobody really stands a chance. Like I think about like an Abby Wambach when I think about how dominant she was.
Oh wow.
With her head in the air, like absolutely dominant aerially, and I think Gilles is definitely in that conversation.
I would pay a lot of money to see a game with those two, Abby Wambach and Vanessa Gilles. Oh wow, what a duel it would be. Wow, really amazing.
Amy, I know you're gonna leave soon, so I just need to ask you about Stéphanie Labbé. She's been a monument for the national team for a while now, and I just want to how did you live that moment when she was subbed off by Bev Priestman 1 minute into the second half? And I think you played with Labbé, right?
I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what legacy and how was she? Just talk about Stéphanie Labbé, please.
Well, you talk about Canada and how outstanding they are, and these goalkeepers that they seem to produce. She comes up at a time where it was Karina LeBlanc and Erin McLeod, and she had to figure out a way to continue to develop, and but she took her a while to get a crack at the starting lineup because she had, you know, 2 Hall of Famers basically standing in her way. But they developed this relationship where it was so highly competitive in training, but they were, you know, it could go one way or another. It could be really nasty and acrimonious, or it could be this thing where, you know, they're lifting each other up constantly. And that's what it was. And I think that in the beginning, her maturity wasn't quite there. And when she was playing and she was in net, for me, I didn't always have full confidence in her, not because she didn't have the ability, but I think that mental aspect, like we're talking about Sebastian Breza maybe struggling with a little bit, there was a little bit of unease for me. I felt much more comfortable with Karina in there or Erin in there, and that's not a knock on Steph at all, but she's talked about her struggles with mental health. And so her legacy in this game is going to be, you know, she's an outstanding goalkeeper, world class. And you know, you talk about that wry smile in the penalties against Sweden, and how big she came up against Brazil, and just, I mean, I remember talking, you know, like being interviewed after they won gold, and people were saying, well, I was, you know, like not all my fingernails off. And I don't want to say that I knew she was going to come up big on the and stop those penalties, because I didn't know, but I was sort of peaceful, and I just knew that they were going to get it done with you know, the team and the people that they had stepping up to the penalty spot to take the penalties, but also that Labe would do her job and come up at least once with a save, you know, when they needed her to do that. So she's done that. She's had an outstanding career, but she's also done a ton to shine a light on mental health struggles, not just for athletes, but for Monsieur, Madame, tout le monde, everybody. And, you know, in a pandemic, that's what we need. We need people talking about their daily struggles and getting support. So I was emotional, and I was but so pleased for her that she got the proper send off in Vancouver. And you saw she had a contingent in the stands with her girlfriend, Georgia Simmerling, and her family, and they were in the Labe jerseys and a little pink band. And so that was awesome. A great crowd at BC Place. I think it could have been bigger, but you know, I think you get a game that was every bit the celebration that it should have been, and she gets her due there and is recognized by the fans.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think it we don't have to forget that in the She Believes Cup in 2021, she was second choice. Sheridan was in front of her, and she got injured. And I think that, you know, maybe helped her in some way to even grow a bit more and just take that number 1 spot again. And I wanted to see Sheridan as a number 1 back then. And, you know, Labe proved me wrong, and, you know, she proved everybody wrong, because she was outstanding.
No.
Yeah, and now all the people who I played with are dwindling, unfortunately. So that's 1 more off the list. So now it's 3 on an island, which I'm sure is at the top of all of their bios. I played with Amy Walsh. No, but for real, there's just Sinky and Erin McLeod and Sophie Schmidt.
Yeah,
that's the last of it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Erin McLeod, I think it's her last season. I think, no?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. So yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, or hanging on to the, you know, to the end of the cycle maybe, or at least to the World Cup next year. Yeah.
Oh, possibly, yeah.
Yeah. But it was a wonderful cycle, and so much memories, and Stéphanie Labbé in particular, she gave us some awesome moments, and it was kind of emotional to see her go out that way, but it was so well put. They did it perfectly, so that's just awesome. She'll be able to bring that moment with her for the rest of her life afterwards and remember it. It was really awesome, really.
Yeah, agreed. And when I saw her warming up Sheridan at halftime, I was like, oh no, what are you doing? Like,
I know,
the sub at halftime, but they did it perfectly. You know, got to sub her out a couple of minutes in, and then she got the ovation that she deserved, which was great.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and there's also something I think that we need to talk about the returning Canadians from Europe to NWSL. Amy, what's up with that? Do you think that the NWSL is trying to bring, you know, those stars back in order to show the world that it's still a top league in the world, because we look at the English championship, the I think W championship, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
WSL.
And the Mexican league now getting a bit more.
They had 90,000 show up in for El Clasico.
Exactly, and then you have the Spanish league, you have the Italian league. So do you think the NWSL is really trying to really push for those players to come back, or do you think it's just the Thorns being the Thorns and getting all the better players, the best players?
Portlandia, right?
Yeah, exactly. Portlandia, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
no, I think they are feeling sort of under the gun, or they're highly cognizant of the competition that they have worldwide now. But that they get that CBA passed, I think is better environment for the players, more support for them, better base salaries, health aspects of whether it's physio or treatment or leave or anything like that. So that's the good first step. So it makes it more attractive for players to maybe come over. I think the Becky situation, though, is, you see not really getting time at her club. And so she comes back to that Arnold Clark Cup and in season, but not in form because she's not getting the minutes on the pitch. So, she comes over and get sort of reunited with Sinky and back in the NWSL, where she spent the first 3 years of her pro career. She started out with Houston. But I think the NWSL, and to draw a parallel with Canada, and I don't know if you guys watched the One Soccer feed the other night at the Nigeria game, but Kaylin Kyle was talking about the need for a domestic pro league, which is so great. So like the NWSL realizing that they're outsourcing their talent, but they have a league, and then Canada is having to do that out of necessity because we have no league. So I think you are going to see, instead of deepening or widening the player pool, a player, a person like Vanessa Gilles goes to Bordeaux because she has the European passport. Otherwise, maybe her career ends. Yes. And so many girls coming out of NCAA environments or university environments, youth sports here in Canada, once their career is done, they don't have anywhere to play. So I think it's so important for one or MLS teams to start building academies for girls. So start putting the roots down there. But then, maybe an NWSL franchise is a step. I don't think it's the one that's going to have success long term. I think you have to have sort of a female CPL. And I know it's been fledgling, and they've had their share of problems, but I think you have to start developing something. And Sinky said it herself. If 3 consecutive podiums and the gold medal in Tokyo isn't enough, she doesn't know what is. So the momentum now is almost fizzled out. And when we have the renewed hope with the money that the men are going to bring in from FIFA, because I could talk about the disparity between the prize money between men and women, but we won't dive into that. But like the way that money now is going to get distributed and utilized, it has to come back down to the grassroots and up through the youth systems and back up to the national teams in an equitable way, so that both teams flourish. Because otherwise there will be this dip where this number 6 ranked team, the gold medal winning Olympic team, might start to fall out of that upper echelon, because there's no domestic support for growing the game and for further, just because you're 24 or 22 years old out of university doesn't mean that you're not going to continue to develop and grow it as a player. In fact, you could argue that they're in a better position at that age with the maturity that they could, really sort of shoot up in terms of development and improvement. And whereas a lot of those girls are forced to hang up their cleats because they have to survive and they have to get a job and they can't play anymore. It can't be their livelihood. So long-winded answer.
No, it's
again.
So interesting though.
No, but it's an important conversation.
Yeah, it is
for sure. We have to keep talking about it.
We always do here on The Ball Is Round. We always ask for a women's professional league in Canada. It's I think it has to be a priority for Soccer Canada, and has to be a priority for all the fans. We have to have that. There's no other way for us to stay competitive. I completely agree.
Definitely. Well, I gotta bounce, guys, but it was so fun being on here with you guys and chatting. It's It's really fun. I miss this. Haven't really done the sideline stuff yet this year because the Champions League games they wouldn't allow a sideline reporter. So I've done like the lone game, and then I've been calling in on like the pregame shows and halftime shows, but it's not the same. So this
You're
is
welcome
awesome.
anytime.
Yeah, whenever you want,
Thank
Amy.
It
Thank you
was
so
really
much.
fun.
Anytime.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you guys for thinking of me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye, Amy. Oh man.
Oh man, that was amazing.
I could have talked to Amy all night.
I know.
I could have listened to Amy all night.
Yeah.
I don't need to talk. I just need to listen.
Said again, we're so lucky with our guests here at the Ball is Wrong, man. It's crazy. Guys, I just want to know, is there anything to add for you on the women's side?
Was it a goal?
Was it a goal? Yes. Yeah.
You think so? You think it was in?
Yeah, I think it was in.
Yeah,
by a hair, but it was in. But no VAR for them. I don't know.
It's a friendly.
Yeah, still. Yeah, you're right there.
I have a couple of things to say about that game, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead, man.
Yeah, we talked about all the positives. I think there are a few negatives in this game. Where the hell was Ashley Lawrence?
Yeah, very quiet night from Ashley.
Very, very quiet. And I think the same thing could be said for Deanna Rose too. It was,
I thought she was lively. I thought she did her job and she did what she had to do. I think she was pretty good. It's just Ashley Lawrence is supposed to be like the player for Canada. And now, yes, I know we have a Fleming that's right now maybe the superstar on the team with Becky. But Lawrence should be up there too, and unfortunately, we haven't. I didn't see her the whole game. I think I heard her name at the 40th minute.
Yeah,
and I was
it was a quiet outing for her. You're right, Hady.
I was very disappointed. The second thing, we need to score a lot more. We were really dominating that Nigerian team, and it's a good team. We've seen it's not a. I know that people look at the FIFA rankings and see that they're like 39th or something, but it doesn't mean anything. It's a good team. They're well in place. They have a good coach that is giving them some tactical structure. But with the amount of chances that we had, we should have scored at least a couple more. I'm very happy for Desiree Scott. I think she improved a lot. It's a player that I thought that. I always said that she was a bit unidimensional, but we've seen that improvement on the part of Desiree Scott. But I think she should have put at least one in the back of the net. She needs a goal.
My God! Like she's got to have a curse on her or something. You can't play that many games and not have something bounce in off you.
Sure. It's crazy. Yeah. So that's just a couple of things that I wanted to say. I don't know if you have anything more to say.
Yeah. I mean, Chan does make a good point regarding Ashley Lawrence that, she did play some big emotional games with PSG recently. So it maybe it is a matter of match fatigue. Who knows? But possibly, yeah. Let me. Overall, by and large, it was obviously a really positive night. I did feel bad for the Nigerian players because they picked up so many injuries during the match, and they brought a very small squad with them. They only had 17 players in camp, and they just got an 18th player in camp today. And obviously, they even lost their goalkeeper during the match. Which is never something you want to see, especially when it's just a friendly. But overall, I liked kind of this performance. I do agree that Canada needs to be a lot more ruthless and a lot more clinical in front of goal, 100%.
The only thing that I would say regarding the game is because everything has been said, right? But why did the Nigerian goalkeeper wear exactly the same colors as Canada?
I was so confused why she was wearing red.
I just didn't. Well,
I'm surprised the refs allowed it.
Yeah, exactly. That was the question I had. But the other thing I would like to say is, it was really interesting what Amy said about playing that back three with Zadorsky, Gilles, and Buchanan in the next game. But what I would have liked to see is back four with Gilles and Zadorsky, just to see, how both fare when Buchanan is in there, and see, because Buchanan will be injured. Hopefully not, but chances are she'll get injured one day for a big game, maybe suspended. So how does Gilles and Zadorsky work together and fare together? That could be interesting to see.
Good.
Other than that,
Good.
man, it was a cool watch. It was really fun to watch. I love watching the women national team. They bring a show every time, so it's very interesting. So yeah,
and we saw some very good link ups during that game.
Oh my god,
it was really, really beautiful. Like
I'm sure,
we've seen the work that Beth Friesland has tried to put in place. We see it. We see it clearly. It's evident. So I love it. Go ahead, Eve.
No, I was gonna say.
I don't know what you're saying.
I don't know. I think I can just imagine Rhiannon Wilkinson, and Karina LeBlanc must have just been up wherever they were watching, every time they could see those crosses from Janine Becky going and landing on Sinclair, even if of course she didn't manage to convert them, they must have just been so happy.
For Canada, I'm so gonna use that word, man. Thank you,
Amy.
Yeah, no, that's what I was mumbling about.
So, guys, that's about it for the women. Let's move on to the men. This week, the draw for the CONCACAF Nations League was made, and we drew Curacao and Honduras. The league will serve as a qualifying platform for the next Gold Cup. It's an intriguing group, guys. What were your thoughts?
It.
Yeah, I like it too.
I like it. Obviously Canada wasn't going to be placed with, a Mexico or a USA to start, because they were all in the same pot together. But I like it as a group. Curacao, they're definitely an up-and-coming football nation, I think, for sure. And they get a lot of players, who in another life might have played for the Dutch national team.
Yes.
So I like it. I think it's competitive. I think it is going to offer a challenge. Good thing is, of course, that both Honduras and Curacao are FIFA ranked. So will also be good for the FIFA rankings if Canada is able to pull off a result, because that might not always be the case in these Nations League competitions, depending on who you draw. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too, but when you look at the draw, you think that it's kind of rigged when you see the U.S. Drawing Salvador and Grenada. I don't know, man. We're getting two very good teams.
Yeah,
I want to have the good teams.
Exactly,
I would rather
going into the World Cup, so might as well,
Yeah, but do you understand that the Nations League, it's qualification. It's a qualification for the Gold Cup too, for 2023 Gold Cup.
But
so if you're first, you're qualified directly. So having two teams that are not very good is a good thing, because you have the qualification that's going to be easier for you for the Gold Cup 2023. So yeah, I like it, but I would have loved an easier draw. I think that those two teams are very good. Curacao, don't forget the Dutch connection that they have with very good Dutch players playing for Curacao. And Honduras, we all know Honduras. Now, what's nice is that it's gonna give us some exciting games to watch, and that's really nice. That's really nice, and I think that's a good transition for the next for your next question, Sam.
Yes, exactly. So discussions have been put in place by Gabriel Gervais with the Canadian Soccer Association to have some matches in Montreal. So I think they kind of looked at the Curacao home game to be one strong potential game to play in Montreal, and John Herdman said that there would be an international window in which they would try to play at home a friendly too. Gervais told that to La Presse in an interview this week. We didn't hear much about it, but isn't it exciting just to know that talks are in the motion right now to have games at home? Yeah, because When was the last time the national team played in Montreal?
When they
Against
played Curacao.
Against Curacao, exactly. Wasn't that the game that we discovered Sam Piet? Like finally
Yeah.
we get to see
Yeah.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time coming. I'm happy that Gabriel Gervais put that right up to his priority list when he got into office. And
Yeah, he lied. He was not taking time to get to know people.
no. He had
I
some
just
things
hope
to do, man.
Mhm.
I just hope that the game that we'll be able to see at Saputo will be against Honduras, because I think it's going to attract a lot more people than against Curacao, because the average Joe is going to be more interested in coming to Stade Saputo to watch Honduras than Curacao, because they
But
don't know much about Curacao.
isn't the Honduras game after the World Cup in 2023?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. That's why they were so focused on the Curacao game being before the World Cup, so we can see the World Cup team before they move on to Qatar. So I think that was the idea behind Gervais, pushing a bit quicker to get the game here.
The only thing I will say is they may not call like the quote unquote A squad for these early matches. But they might because it's a World Cup year, and you might want to keep that machine.
It's too early to see, but no, both. Yeah, exactly. The game against Honduras is after the World Cup.
After the World Cup,
you're
yeah.
completely right, and the game against Curacao is before. But
Mhm.
it's just gonna be, it's gonna be I want to see another team than Curacao.
I know,
man.
We'll take
I
it.
will take what I can get.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, some people thought we'd get some octagon games at Stade
Oh
Saputo.
no,
Clearly, it wasn't going to
impossible.
happen. But now
Impossible.
that we might have a CONCACAF Nation League game, why not, man? I won't be too picky. Yeah. Guys, a last point before we move on to part 2. The CPL has started this week. Here at the Ball is On, we kind of touch on the CPL, but we don't really keep an active conversation like week in, week out on the CPL. But we do love the league. And what I want to ask you guys is just one story that you guys are going to keep your eye on going into this CPL season. I can start with mine if you want, guys, while you think about yours. My story is Balou. This man was bought by Barcelona B, yes, but his career has been like crazy ups and downs, and I really hope that he's able to get his career back. I think CPL is a good setup for him. And in Atletico and Ottawa, they worked hard this offseason to make their team better. Balou is part of the plans of the coach on starting basis, and just the city. It's a different city. It's more of a a down city, and it's not like Montreal being what it is. So I just really hope that Balou gets his things together, puts up a good season, and maybe pops his head up for maybe a potential transfer back to MLS, because talent has never been his problem, this man. So let's hope that whatever was the problem will be addressed during his time in Ottawa, and that he can get his career back, because you got one career, man, and it would be a real shame if he goes out of his career with regrets. So I really hope for the best for him. I wish him the best, and I hope that he can make every minute count in Ottawa. So that's my story going into the CPL season.
Chan wants to see a CPL team win Voyageurs Cup this year.
Yeah, that would be awesome, but that would mean that we don't. So
yeah.
And just I forgot to share that Roberto said that Montreal is a long shot for the Canadian men's national team. I'll give you my story if you don't mind, Eve. I'm going to start before you. I want to see how Pacific FC does this year after winning the championship last year,
and without Pamuduka.
Without not only Pamuduka, because Forge FC, which is the biggest club, I think.
Hady, that was mine.
Sorry, stole all the good players from Pacific FC. Not all, but a lot. They took Tyran Campbell, they took Hojarpur, and Pacific FC doesn't have the same coach, doesn't have the same players, with a couple of players signing with Toronto FC, by the way.
Yeah.
Kadin Chung and Lucas McNaughton that signed from Pacific to Toronto FC. I want to see how they do this year. I think it's going to be very interesting to watch. They did bring some very good players that are confirmed players in the CPL, like Amar Didic, who was a Canadian national team member at one point. He played one game or a couple of games. Nathan Mavila also that joined the club. George Mukumbilwa that comes from the Whitecaps. So they do have some good players that joined in. I'm very curious to see how they're gonna bounce from that championship year. It's gonna be very interesting to watch. Sorry, Eve.
Well, they're bouncing all right now because they're up 1-0 over Forge actually at halftime. So far they're off to an okay start.
Yeah,
I know it's
minutes.
That's a small sample size. Yes. Okay. So Hady, yes, you did actually swipe exactly what I was going to say, practically verbatim. But I guess another story that I would be looking to see is I think Cavalry could make a push this year. I think Cavalry has a strong squad in place. They've got a strong coaching staff with like a good system in place. So for me, I'd like to see Cavalry make some more noise this year.
Interesting. Very interesting. So these are our stories to keep a look on. And if something really, out of norm happens, of course, we will talk about it here on our show. So guys, I think we're ready for part 2.
Yeah,
I'm ready
part 2 this week has social media and a quiz. I know everyone loves a quiz, so after social media,
can't wait to lose.
So who's got social media? It's Eve this week.
It's me.
Yeah, let's do the small intro first.
Nice.
Alrighty. Starting us off, we have Canucks Abroad. So this was tweeted midweek. So UEFA Champions League. Alphonso Davies had the start for FC Bayern Munich this afternoon in his first match back since being sidelined with myocarditis, going full 90 minutes in a 1-0 loss to Villarreal at Villarreal. So are we happy?
Yeah,
of
course.
course we are. Of course we are. What kind of question is that?
Well, y'all were real quiet, so I was like, "Oh God, maybe I'm sorry."
Yeah.
No, but what's really interesting? He played 90 minutes coming back from a heart condition, so this is showing like how solid his progression was to coming back. They didn't. I guess with these heart conditions that they're always tricky because when you go into exertion mode, the heart is going to react in a certain way. But to see that maybe they were a bit more on the safe side with him, not rushing him back, but making sure that when he comes back, he's able to play 90. That's really interesting. And I think Bayern Munich has been known to be very solid with all of their medical and
they're hardcore
stuff,
everywhere. It's just one of the best clubs in the world. It's as simple as
awesome,
that. And what's even better is that he did play also this weekend. Yes, he was as a sub, but he did play about 35 minutes against Augsburg with Munich winning 1-0. So, being able to repeat again 3 days later, that's also something very positive for the Canadian national team and, of course, for Alphonso Davies himself.
Yeah, no, it was great to see him back, and like he, unfortunately Bayern did lose that match.
Chances Davies also trash talked on Harry Maguire. Well, who doesn't?
Yeah, no, but he
harsh.
But rightly so, though. He's not my favorite.
Oh God. Yeah, but no, I was thrilled to see Davies back. Like he looked very much like his old self. I thought in the Champions League match, I didn't get a chance to catch his time yesterday, but I did catch the Champions League match, and I thought he looked like his old self. So I was really pleased.
Yeah, definitely.
Moving on, I have 3 tweets actually from one person. So we have
Oh,
Felice.
Felice.
Yes, Felice. And he said, we didn't deserve it, but sometimes you catch a tiger by the tail. Catch a tiger by the tail, sorry. One thing is how much better Kamara is than almost anyone else on the team. He is a bona fide pro soccer player. I hope he starts most of the season. But JFC, which I'm just going to keep abbreviated, MLS goalkeepers like to wander. Makes me nostalgic for Evan Bush. It was a bit of a roller coaster from Felice.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm very surprised that we haven't seen any hate tweet on Nancy from Felice. Usually,
Not hate tweets. It's pessimistic tweets. Let's say that.
Nancy out hashtag and
Oh yeah,
stuff
but
like
that's
that.
classic in any sports setup. You
True,
see it
true,
everywhere. But
true.
um,
But yeah, it's horrific, man. The goalkeeping situation in MLS lately, really horrific. And it's not only we've seen Coronel, we've seen Breza, but it's not only them, right? So I don't know. I don't know what needs to be done, but yeah, we need a bit more quality. I think between the sticks.
It's
But it's
weird.
been a position that teams have not invested as much in as in other positions, and I think now that when you see some teams are willing to bring Europeans or or South Americans in with higher profiles, they've benefited from it. So maybe it's something that because it's a copycat league, right? So when someone is gonna start moving in a direction, a lot of teams are gonna follow. So it's gonna be interesting to see if maybe in a few years we have some designated goalkeepers. And
Be careful what you say, Sam. Coronel is a player
yeah,
coming
I
from
know. He's
Europe.
but I have to say Coronel has been very good for New York,
yeah, exactly. So
except except for his error against
I was
us.
gonna
But
say that was uncharacteristic by and large.
yeah, but still, when we look at the mistake, we cannot just completely put the necks on a player, right? So
Yeah.
we have to look at his whole a year or all his games and everything. Like it's funny because I think Chan at one point did a comment today saying talking about Fabian Bortez and the fact that he did some silly mistakes with Manchester United. But we have a tendency to forget that he was one of the best goalkeepers in the world back then, and he won the Champions League with Marseille. In case you forgot it. So yeah, no. So yes, of course, goalkeepers are going to make mistakes. It's just the fact that it's not. They just have to be careful not to do mistakes in a consistent manner. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. I lost my mouse. Oh no. There we go. All right. Next up, we have Tio Toto, who's quoting. It was a tweet put out by OptaJack. So Tio Toto finds this interesting and says CF Montreal has recorded 9 come from behind wins since the start of the 2020 season, 2 more than any other team in MLS in that time. Turnaround. You guys think of that stat?
I didn't know that.
No, me neither.
I didn't know that. But now you have to ask: is it a good thing or not? Because if you just take the lead and you keep it, there's no come from behind win either. So
they don't do things the easy way.
No, exactly.
No, I think it's very interesting.
Yeah,
I think it's a very good stat for Montreal. That means that you have that mentality, that never give up mentality. That's so important in today's game, in the modern game, right? So
you're right, and that's something Wilfred Nancy touched on. At in his presser after the New York game, he said that he was very pleased by he said his team showed personality, a lot of personality. So maybe you could translate this to character because he was speaking in French at that moment. So showing that grit, that willingness to go to fight, that's interesting because we talked about it last week with Eric. Nancy said, when his team was losing by a goal, he was happy they continued fighting. Obviously, you expect your team to continue fighting, but in reality, it's not always the case. Some players start to fade out. Some players start to take 10, 15-minute vacation on the field, but we didn't really see that from Montreal this year, even though we've struggled in some games. So it's good. It's interesting, and I didn't know that stat, so it kind of proves the point of Wilfred Nancy.
Yeah. And it made me wonder, because like Lord knows we talked a lot about like the mentality of Montreal, like when it comes to closing out games. But I'm like, like obviously they're doing something right mentally if they can, get back to win that many matches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving along. Next up, we have G Sharp. So I think we did talk a bit about this during the game, but he asks, am I the only one who thought that Wanyama did not have his legs under him? Thought he lacked energy and power, did not seem himself. Coney and him got taken to school.
I don't think it's a Wanyama's. I think we talked about this a bit earlier. I don't think it's a Wanyama being, not being good. I think there's just the midfield of New York that was too good for the whole midfield of Montreal, and just being they were overrun. There was only two midfielders, and from the other side, I think 3 or 4 most of the time. So I think that was the problem. I don't think that Wanyama had a bad game or anything. I thought that he was good. I don't know.
It wasn't one of his best. It
No.
wasn't bad by any means, but I think that's just a testament of the standard that he put on himself this year. Because when he arrived from Tottenham, everyone was saying, "Man, it's amazing what Wanyama was doing in Europe, and if he can translate this to Montreal, we have a very good player." And in the first year and a half, maybe it wasn't exactly the Wanyama that we're seeing today. So now that he's upped his game and set that standard for him, he's just gonna have some lesser performances, but still very good, and they're gonna show a bit more because he set that high standard for himself, which is great for us.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Interesting. Interesting take. And last but not least, this so I had tweeted, this was awesome. So I had actually tweeted, like right after Jesse Fleming scored, I had tweeted, "Oh, Jesse Fleming, like what a clutch player," something to that effect. And so this reply is from Rhonda Brownlee, and Rhonda was like at the ready with a beautiful graphic. So for those of you who are listening, it's it's a picture styled in the way that a dictionary entry would be styled. So it's definition, clutch with the pronunciation, noun, 1. See Jesse Fleming. That was fantastic. I was like, Rhonda, you go.
Oh yeah.
That's not too cool.
Yeah.
But also
very
Jesse, yeah. But it was a really good play from Jesse Fleming as well to score her goal.
Yeah,
which I don't think we talked a whole lot about Jesse.
No, but the whole performance, from start to finish by Jesse Fleming was amazing. But that's what she's got us used to. So she's become such an important player, and we've said it before. But when she started taking penalty duties, I think it was at the Olympics. It kind of became her team, and she's just embracing that role of being really the leader of this team, and the technical leader too, not only the emotional leader, but the technical leader of this team, bringing the ball forward, picking up these passes, and getting available for other players, and just being a workhorse for 90 minutes. And it comes with the clutch territory, right?
Yeah, and kind of brings me to a conversation I was having with somebody else. I get so excited when I think about the fact that so many of these players who we were like, you must stay forever, are still so young, and they're still in the prime of their career. I mean, Fleming's 24, Janine Becky is only 27, Deanne Rose is 23, Quinn is 26, Kadisha Buchanan's also 26, I believe, and Ashley Lawrence and as well, and Vanessa Gilles. So like we're gonna have these amazing clutch players for years and years to enjoy, as long as they stay healthy and everything, I hope.
Yeah, definitely.
And that wraps up social media for this week. With that being said, Sam,
are you guys ready?
Sam.
It's quiz time, guys. Quiz time.
I'm too hungover for a quiz, but okay.
I love preparing these quizzes because I learned so much stuff, but I hope you guys have the answers, because I would say on a scale out of 5 of difficulty, maybe out of 3.5, maybe in 4 territories. So I hope
Oh
you guys
boy.
are ready.
Wow. Okay.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. Oh
oh
yeah.
God. Okay.
Okay, let's go. So question number 1. Um, just a context. During their professional career, most CF Montreal players have played through higher and lower divisions, right? Uh, the question here is only in the higher division available in the country the player was playing. So, for example, the Premier League in England, MLS in the States, Ligue 1 in France. Okay, so it's pretty easy. Ranking their appearances only for first division football, who comes at number 3 in this list?
What in the name of God?
Kai Kamara, 380 games. Victor Wanyama, 306 games. Number 3 that we're looking for. And 4, Camacho, 138 games. So, guys, you understand the question, right?
So
Perfect.
there's 2 other players that are not between those guys that you had named.
There's one. So,
Okay, so
the
there's
list
in the choice that you gave, there's the number 2 and there's number 3.
Okay, I'll start again.
Victor Wanyama's number 2.
Yeah, so we're looking for number 3 on the list. And the list goes this way. Kai Kamara, 380 games. Victor Wanyama, 306 games. We're looking for number 3. And number 4 is Rudy Camacho with 138 games.
Okay. Good,
and
good.
don't forget, first division in their respective countries only. Is it A, Romel Kyoto, B, Bjorn Janssen, C, Sampiet, or D, Georgi Mihailovic? And we'll start with Hady.
You repeat the choices again? Sorry.
A, Romel Kyoto, B, Bjorn Janssen, C, Sampiet, or D, Georgi Mihailovic?
I would say Kyoto.
Eve?
I'm going to say Bjorn.
Eve is right. Bjorn Janssen has played 164 first division games in his career, more than Rudy Camacho on 138.
And Kyoto?
Kyoto has played 119, Piet has played 114, and Georgi Mihailovic has played 110.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
119 only for Kyoto if you count his Houston years and his years in Honduras?
And his years in Poland. He played 1 year in Poland, first division too. He only has 119.
Really?
Yeah. I was surprised too, man.
Very surprised. Yeah.
Chan had it. Johnson, yeah.
Yes.
Number 2. He scored on the day following his 18th birthday to become the youngest ever goal scorer for Montreal since the 2006-2007 season. Was it A, Balou Tabla, B, Reda Aguram, C, Jason Vargas, or D, Sunusi Ibrahim? And Eve, your turn.
I know Balou scored like right around his birthday, so I'm going to say Balou.
Hady?
I would say Sunusi.
Sunusi was 18 years old, 10 months and 15 days when he scored his first goal. It was Balou Tabla scoring the day following his 18th birthday. Reda Aguram he was 19, and Jason Vargas was 20 years old. So Eve, 2-0. Moving on.
I have to let Eve win, or else she's not gonna sleep.
No, but Hady, there's still 3 questions. You're good, man. Don't worry.
Hady.
No, I want Eve to win 5-0.
It's not a win.
5-0.
It's not a win if you give it to me.
I'm gonna give it to you.
Oh.
Number 3. So we all know that Kai Kamara is the player having scored the most goals against us in the history of the club, right? In the list of assists, there are 2 players that are co-first. So both are on 6 assists each. Which duo is the one riding on 6 assists against Montreal? Is it A, Giovinco and Altidore, B, Giovinco and Federico Higuain, C, Thierry Henry and Kellen Rowe, or D, Federico Higuain and Thierry Henry? So I'll give the duos back. Giovinco Altidore, A, B. Giovinco Higuain, C. Henri Rowe, D. Higuain Henri. And it's Hady's turn.
Jovinko Higuain.
Giovinco Higuain. Eve,
That's also my guess.
you're both wrong. It's
Ah!
Giovinco, and Altidore, of all people, has
Ah.
6 assists against Montreal.
Oh wow.
Good lord.
So
Wow.
Eve, you're on
2
you're on 2
2-0.
points. Hedy, you're on none. Number 4. In
The most
MLS,
dangerous lead.
in
Sorry.
MLS only, this referee has given the most red cards to Montreal with 4. Is it A. Ted Uncle, B. Silvio Petrescu, C. Armando Villarreal, D. Chris Penso? Eve.
Chris Penso.
Hedy?
That was my guess too.
No, it's Armando Villarreal. I was
Huh?
really surprised
Oh,
with
wow.
that because he doesn't seem to like a red card, but he likes one against Montreal for sure.
So
Armando
it's actually him that Montreal fans should cower and
Yeah,
not cower, but they break out their usual chant for
yeah,
because
no,
we do give a lot of shtick to
to
Silvio.
Petrescu, yeah. So Eve, you're sure to win, but Hady, you can maybe
Save
bridge
your
the gap a
honor.
bit.
It's
Since the
okay.
start of our journey in MLS, the club has had 51 penalties. 12 players have taken the penalties. So 12 players have taken the 51. Which of these players has the worst scoring percentage when stepping up to the spot with 75%?
Oof.
Is it A. Nacho Piatti, B. Didier Drogba, C. Safir Tadder, or D. Patrice Bernier? And it's Eve's turn. Or no, it's Hady's turn, sorry. Hady.
No, it's Eve.
It's Eve, my bad.
Okay, I'm gonna say Drogba.
Eve goes for Drogba. Hady?
Yeah, I think it's Drogba too, but I'm gonna say Bernier.
Bernier is 100% from the spot.
Nice.
As is Safir Taider. The only other player is Nacho Piatti with 88%. Drogba had 75%. So, Hady, you would have been right if you had went with Drogba. So, Eve, 3-0. Wow.
Yeah. A thumping.
Oh,
Thumping.
Eve.
So, guys, I hope you like this quiz. I like.
I like
I
your
love it.
quizzes. They're so cute.
Eve likes it, so everybody's happy.
That's good.
There you go.
Let's go. And I hope our listeners have been happy because it was a cool show to have Amy Walsh on. We thank her so much for staying maybe an hour, 15 minutes with us. It was awesome to have her on the show. I'll say it was awesome to have Eve and Hady with me to talk soccer
It's
tonight
awesome.
as usual.
No.
It's awesome to have you also, Sam.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to have everyone who was with us, who participated to the show and was live with us. And thank you so much to everyone who's going to listen during the week on podcast version. It's always a pleasure. And we'll catch you next week, Monday, 8 p.m. for another episode of The Ball is Round. Take care, guys.